Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. LIAT flies again while local Barbadian pilots continue to struggle. This story takes the lead in our 979th edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 5th November 2020. Details after this important message.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Regional airline LIAT took to the skies again on Sunday after a 7-month layoff due to financial troubles arising out of the COVID-19 pandemic. But grounded Barbadian pilots are still suffering and have no idea when their severance payments will be forthcoming, the National Union of Public Workers, NUPW, has bemoaned. Acting General Secretary of the NUPW, Delisha Burke, said things were so bad for the pilots. Some have been forced to sell their vehicles and other personal items to survive the last few months. LIAT returned for the ceremonial flight on Sunday, operating its first flight from the VC Bird International Airport in Antigua and Barbuda to Dominica. LIAT said on Sunday it would operate a limited schedule of flights later this month in an attempt to return to as close to a regular schedule as possible. The airline is currently completing training and regulatory requirements for the Caribbean islands it plans to service within the next few weeks. It is expected to reveal by this weekend the limited schedule as well as its other destinations. But in Barbados, those severed pilots are at their wits' end, said the union. The trade union is noted that to be out of work for 7 months had forced most of the pilots to use up all their personal savings. On its full restart later this month, the cash-strapped airline is set to introduce several new procedures to ensure the safety of passengers in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. All passengers will be required to wear masks when checking in at the regional airports as well as aboard the aircraft. It will also clean and sanitize the aircraft after each flight. LIAT remains under financial administration, but is being restructured to improve its bottom line and maintenance program since the Gaston Brown-led administration attempted to reorganize the airline. Over in Guyana, Attorney General there Anil Nandlal says, based on independent legal advice, charges will be laid against former Finance Minister Winston Jordan as well as former CEO of Anisel, Colville Heath, London, in relation to alleged illegalities committed in the sale of state lands. However, Jordan says Nandlal's claims are baseless and repugnant. More from HGP's Wendell Badri.
The Attorney General and the Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandlal, stated that based on independent legal advice sought and acquired by him in relation to lands allegedly given away under the former administration, civil proceedings will be instituted against a number of persons implicated, including former Minister of Finance Winston Jordan and recently dismissed CEO of NISL, Colvin Heath, London. It is being alleged that the sale and transfer of lands from the state to several companies were executed shortly after the March 2020 elections, and that several companies exacted minuscule payments for the said lands, situated at Ogle on the east coast of Demerara. In a schedule circulated by the Attorney General, detailing the particulars of the transactions, Caribbean Marketing Enterprise Incorporated was recorded as making a total payment of $19.4 million for 21 acres of land, while the value was $632.8 million. Another company, Premier Sales and Services, is recorded as paying $1 million for 5 acres of land, although the value reportedly stood at $150 million. Popular businessman Brian Tiwari of BK Incorporated allegedly made a payment of $20.2 million for 2,553 acres, while the offer price stood at $202.6 million. The Attorney General submitted that, among other things, civil proceedings will be instituted to recover the parcel of lands as well as claim compensation against those implicated, while preferring that the state will treat generously with those who opt to return the said lands. He added that the matters will also be passed to the Criminal Investigation Department of the Police Force, as well as the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, for further investigations and consequential actions. Jordan, in a statement, however, denied the allegations, claiming, and I quote, "These allegations and innuendos against me are baseless and repugnant. In my view, they are designed to impugn my character, tarnish my image, and lower my esteem in the eyes of my family, friends, admirers, well-wishers, and the general public. Indeed, the numerous calls, texts, and messages on this matter that I received convince me of this conclusion. I thank all of those persons who expressed full confidence in me and for their comfort and support. I state categorically that I, Winston Jordan, former Minister of Finance in the coalition government, performed my duties in compliance with the oath of office and to the best of my abilities. This I have done in my over 35 years of public service in various capacities. On the advice of counsel, I would refrain from delving into matters of an evidentiary and factual basis. This will be done at an appropriate time." End quote. Meanwhile, PNCR executive member Aubrey Norton, while at a ceremony at the Regional Democratic Office of Region 4 last week, posited that all the lands issued under the previous administration are legal.
All the lands that were issued under the APNU AFC are legal, and we will ensure and work with those people who got those lands to bring legal action to ensure they keep the lands.
Nandlal on Sunday stated that 6 of 8 companies who received lands under the previous administration have offered to return their plots. Wendell Badri, HGP Nightly News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Vincent Alexander, opposition-nominated commissioner at GCOM, says GCOM Chair Justice Claudette Singh, retired, remains resolute on the appointment of Dominican attorney Anthony Astafan to represent the Chief Elections Officer and GCOM in the election petitions matter. He dubbed the chairperson's handling of the matter cause for concern. The details in this report from Wendell Badri.
At a virtual press conference on Saturday, the opposition-nominated Commissioner Vincent Alexander made those statements in relation to the election petitions currently before the Chief Justice at the High Court.
She then reluctantly said that she would meet with the CEO, but that the appointment of Astafan was a done deal.
Alexander was at the time speaking to matters arising out of a meeting by the Commission, which was held on Friday, October 30. Prior to this, he said that at a previous meeting it was agreed by the Commission that Anthony Astafan would be considered, even though there were reservations by some opposition commissioners based on prejudicial statements he made against the CEO during an interview on a local radio station. He further stated that it was agreed at the level of the Commission that GCOM commissioners as well as the chair reserved the right to join in the matter as interested parties, and also that the chair would consult with the CEO prior to the Friday, October 30 meeting concerning appointment of attorneys to represent him, but this did not materialize.
The chairman, grudgingly and reluctantly, then indicated that she had not met with the CEO on Wednesday, October 28th, as she had undertaken to do, but that she had many conversations with the CEO. She, however, remained mum in relation to whether she had conveyed to the CEO the decision of the previous meeting with regards to his involvement in the selection process. She also retorted that anyone who was dissatisfied with the situation, including the CEO, could approach the Chief Justice on the matter.
Meanwhile, during a conversation with this newscast approximately 2 weeks ago, government-nominated Commissioner Manoj Narayan, who confirmed that he had proposed the appointment of Astafan as counsel for the CEO, stated that Lowenfield is subject at all times to the decision of the Commission and that he could not choose an attorney on his own behalf in this instance. He explained that it is the office of the CEO that is named as the respondent and not Lowenfield himself.
That the CEO is subject to the guidance and directions and control of the Commission. So the CEO can't unilaterally appoint an attorney at law to represent the interests of the Commission, and the Commission doesn't even know who that attorney is or what instructions are being given.
Narayan continued.
We have to be realistic. We have to examine the conduct of Lowenfield in the past and whether he has always been acting in the best interest of the Commission. There has been many times where he has flouted the orders and directions of the Commission, refused to comply with orders and directions of the Commission. So we need to be realistic.
Alexander, meanwhile, highlighted that there is cause for concern as a result of the way the chairperson has handled the matter. While the case management hearing for the election petitions was held on October 22nd, the trial has been set for November 24 by the Chief Justice, Madam Roxanne George. Wendell Badri, HGP Nightly News.
What really happened with Patriotic's proposal for the state refinery? Well, neither party is allowed to say due to the non-disclosure agreement, but leader of the MSJ, David Abdullah, believes he may have identified the problem and he's laying the blame squarely on the government. In fact, if his deductions are correct, government cannot sell the assets to anyone. TV6's Renessa Cutting has more.
The refining assets of Petrotrin can now be put in a separate company for opportunity attention. The OWTU will be given the first option to own and operate it if they wish, on the most favorable terms.
It was September of 2018 that government first announced its decision to sell the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery. 1 year later, Patriotic Energies and Technologies Limited crossed its first hurdle in the marathon to secure the asset.
After reviewing all the facts as presented, Cabinet today agreed to select Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited. Their proposal indicated upfront cash of US $700 million for the refinery assets.
However, on Saturday, 2 years into the process of selecting an operator for the refinery, Patriotic's proposal was shut down.
Today, I regret to say that this final proposal does not address the outstanding issues that could lead to a signed contractual agreement.
Government identified 3 issues: purchasing price financing, restart financing, and first priority lien.
We were taken by surprise, and therefore, when we look at the 3 issues raised, we respectfully disagree that we did not meet those requirements.
The Prime Minister has since mandated that a committee re-evaluate Patriotic's proposal, but the sequence of events has raised suspicion in MSJ leader David Abdullah.
The issue of the purchase price was not an issue in 2019, and in fact the government said, we don't want your upfront cash, we're prepared to take it on a staggered basis. So why now has the purchase price come back up again? In terms of the restart financing, that was also addressed.
Patriotic having long met the first 2 requirements, according to Abdullah, the only remaining issue is that of first priority lien. A lien is a claim or legal right against assets that are typically used as collateral to satisfy a debt.
Going through the prospectus, because they were trying to raise money to help to pay off some of the previous loans, and Trinidad Petroleum Holdings indicated under the issue of collateral, well, the guarantors, one of the guarantors is Guaracara, and another one is Paria. A third one is Heritage.
What this means in simple terms is that the assets appear to be tied up in other transactions. And if his assumptions are correct, it would mean that the state cannot sell the assets to Patriotic or to anyone.
Have they changed that now to the need for Patriotic to provide upfront cash? Now, I don't know because I'm not part of the process. If that is so, why did that change? And did it change because somebody on the government's negotiating side messed up with respect to the information about that lien or that mortgage, that guarantor arrangement and collateral of the refinery, and therefore they couldn't sell unless they got upfront cash to pay off those creditors, in which case, when they're paid off, then the sale of the event goes through.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.